what's up? It's Kit. Time for another video. This is the next part of the series on basic stuff. So this is aimed specifically to people that want to start and they don't know where to go. The rods, the reels, it confuses them. So I will explain everything. This is the second part. The third part will come after. Obviously. But we started with the reel, and then now we're going to be talking about the rod. So if you're new to this channel talks about the hows and whys of fishing. We cover everything from big game, ultralight, everything in the middle, including fly fishing. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about the different types of rods for you guys that are starting out. So first thing, don't be confused, okay? There's only literally two types of rods that a beginner should be holding, okay? And this is the spin cast rod, if it's available, and that's the most basic, easiest. And then it's the spinning rod. Now, the spinning rod is not as easy as the spin cast to learn, but it's also one that would probably be the one that you would use the longest. Even if you're already adept, the spinning rod and reel is literally something that you almost don't grow out of. And then on top of that, maybe some people will graduate towards bait casters depending on usage and all of that. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that today. Now, let's start from the bottom, okay, which is the spin cast. And the spin cast rod, I'm going to show you a very good example here. And this thing has a reel on it, okay? A rod that has the guides on top, the reel sits on top. Like so. Okay? Here we go. Again, we discussed that the casts, you just hold the button, boom, cast out, and then when you're ready to retrieve, just reel in. So it's pretty simple. They're not too long, and you won't find very long spin cast rods. This is a 6-footer, I believe, or probably a bit less. And there are different materials used for these. So there's graphite on the top end, and then there's fiberglass in the low end. This is actually fiberglass. Okay, so it's kind of whippy. The difference between a fiberglass rod and a graphite rod is that the fiberglass rods are whippy, and fiberglass rods are more forgiving than graphite rods. But graphite rods are more sensitive. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing. You'll see a lot of sets, especially in the US. So you'll find sets. Now, if you're investing for the future, and these things are not that expensive, but if you're investing for the future, it's probably a good idea to not buy the combos, because combos in general, they might be cheap, but it's really a needle in a haystack on finding a good combo that won't break on you, okay? So if you're starting out, I would say invest on a separate rod, a separate reel, and put some line, and then that would be better than any combo. And the combos, I mean, they're kind of disposable, you know, except for some combos that the company actually puts together in the higher end, okay? But generally, most combos are just, you know, not a good idea. So let's put it there. If you're investing for the future, if you're just playing around and, you know, just for the sake of having, yeah, why not? You know, it's a good idea. But again, if it's something that you actually want to use more, then don't invest on a combo, okay? And that's not only for spin cast, but also for pretty much all rods and reels, okay? Now, the spin cast rod have guides, okay? These are the guides. They have less guides than a bait casting rod, which I will show you later on. Okay, so this is kind of like in tiers. So you have to also get your head around the fact that the reel has to fit the rod, and it's something that we call balancing. Okay, so the rod size and the reel size according to how heavy or how the usage. Okay, so there's medium, light, medium, and heavy. So you can put a light reel on a heavy rod, but it's not gonna feel correctly. It's not gonna cast correctly. Conversely, you can't put a heavy reel on a light rod because, again, it's not gonna cast correctly. So a balanced outfit means that the rod works together with the reel, and both of them work together with the line that you put in. And then once everything is balanced, it means that, you know, it's easier to use. Much like how you put the tires in a car, too big, and you know, it's still gonna move, but it's not gonna move the way you want it to move. It could be sluggish. Okay, so it's same with the combos. Okay, so rod reel, that's called a combo. Now, spinning rods generally are the tackle of choice for a lot of people on Earth. Okay, easiest to use, you won't outgrow it, and whatever the size may be, it's always going to find a niche in your tackle system. This is my favorite rod, okay? And I've had this for longer than my daughter has been on Earth, okay? So this is literally more than 14 years with me. And believe it or not, I don't use it as much these days, but when I need to just take one rod and reel, this is basically what I take out. The reason why I don't use it is because I just don't want to damage it. But this has served me really, really well. From fishing in the beaches, on the beaches, and going offshore and catching pelagic fish in blue water, this has done it all. So that gives you kind of like an idea of how much versatility it has in usage, okay? So a spinning rod, typically there's different lengths, and when you're first starting out, a very good length to get would be about 6'6" to 7 feet. This is a 7-footer. Exactly. It's a 7-footer, and they have like I mentioned, there's light, medium, and heavy. This is a medium action rod, and what it is it kind of sits somewhere in the middle. And this is something that I would kind of encourage you to get, regardless of where you are in the world. Okay, because a medium action rod and reel spinning is not only the easiest to use, it's also the most useful. So I have a bunch of these in my arsenal, and they're all well used. Okay, so to match this up, okay, just give you an idea, this can cast, and there's information on the blank. Okay, this thing, the shaft of the rod, or the rod itself, is called there's a blank. Okay, that's what it's called. So the blank, this part without all the other components, is called a blank. So on the blank, okay, on the blank you will see there's information. So it says here that it's 7 feet. It's medium action. The line is 6 to 12, and this is a Western rod, so it actually mentions things in imperial. So this is 6 to 12 pounds. Okay, so 3 to 6 kg, and then lure is 1/4 to 1 ounce. So you can cast on the lower end about 1/4. So that is about 7 grams, all the way up to 1 ounce. Okay, so roughly about 28. Okay, so again, something very useful. Now to balance, Okay, to balance this, you might be asking, why is that information there? Because you're gonna have to find a reel that matches the specifications. Okay, so take for example for this rod right here, it says it is 6 feet and it can cast lures of 1 to 5 grams and the line is 2 to 6 pounds. Bit of a weird thing because the lure weight is actually in grams. Anyway, so your line is 1 to 3 kg, okay, and lure size is 1 to 5 grams. So again, something like that is always going to be printed on the side of the reel, at least, or the rod, at least for the decent ones. Okay, so for this particular one, I chose a 4,000 sized reel, which is right about the top end of the medium action for the Shimano range of reels. So here's the thing. The line capacity here, it says that you can have 10 pound, 200, this is 200, for 10 pounds, it has 200 meters. And here, it says line is 6 to 12. So meaning 10 fits this reel and fits this rod. And then when you put these together, you'll find that it actually feels really good. Okay, it feels balanced. Okay, and another way to actually put this, it's not really accurate, but it kind of helps. Okay, so you know, you actually have the what do you call this, the weight here. So if you put your finger there, you can see that it's perfectly straight. Okay, it helps, sort of rough measurement. It's not accurate, but the right way of doing things is looking at the specs, looking at the specs of the specs of the reel and the specs of the rod, see where they intersect, and if they do, then that reel is fit for the rod. But also at the same time, just for feel, okay, where this sits here, okay, where that sits, okay, that's pretty much your center of gravity, and you put your finger there, you can see that it's perfectly straight. Okay, and that has a lot to do with you holding the rod and the feel of the rod. I don't know if people do this, but I started doing that a long time ago, and it just makes it, yeah, it feels really good for spinning at least. Okay, so that's how pretty much you balance your rod and your reel. Now, the line, as far as the line is concerned, it gives you a range. Okay, it gives you a range. So this, the 10, is right smack in the middle of 6. The line range is 6 to 12 pounds. So I could put 8, I could put 10. For me, I actually have a video of kind of like an advanced video that talks about this. Okay, so basically, if you want to cast far, you could put 6 pound, which is a thinner line diameter. And then if you want to have more power, you could do 12. So you have a lot more pulling power because remember, in the first video, we were talking about the drags. So the drags for 12 would be set a bit more tighter than the drags that would be set for 6 pounds. And we'll talk about the drag in a later video. We'll talk about it at length because that's quite important. But for now, that's how you balance it. That's how you pick out a reel. That's how you pick out a rod for spinning. Again, 90% of the people on Earth would probably just stop there. Now, I want to show you this because it is a bait casting rod. And there are some places on Earth where, you know, a lot of people just use this, and it's kind of strange to actually, like take for example, in the Philippines, a lot of people like using bait casters for toman and snakeheads. Both of them are actually snakeheads, and bass as well. And the weapon of choice is a bait caster. So a lot of people that get into that just go straight to a bait caster. The US is the same. There's some areas where, people just kind of start out, especially when they're a bit older. They just pretty much start out with a bait caster because it's what people use. Okay, so a bait casting reel, as we've discussed, this is an example, and the rod is very similar to the spin cast rod, but it has more guides. It also has smaller guides. Okay, so that's how you differentiate one from the other. Again, as far as balancing is concerned, this balances near the reel because, it's closer. But as you can see, my thing about balancing rod and reels is actually kind of spot on with this. So this reel matches this rod and it's the same thing. You look for the specs for this one. It says, this is so small. It says line is, again, 6 to 12. And lure weight is 4 to 12 grams. And that is in ounces, 1/8 to 3/8. This particular rod is actually 6'8", so almost 7. And with that information, okay, so you have what is that? It's 6 to 12, okay? So if you have a reel that holds 10-pound test line, that's it. So if you can tell, this rod is very similar to this, only the bait casting version, okay? So kind of an all-around thing. And all you have to do is just match the reel that holds, let's say, 200 or thereabouts meters or yards of the line that the rod states, or anywhere in the range. Okay, so if it says 6 to 12, it means you could use 6, 8, 10, and 12. Your reel will hold, let's say, more of the 6, and then a little bit less of the 8, a little bit less of the 10, and a little bit less of the 12. But it's the same reel. And it's your choice on whether you're putting 6, 8, 10, or 12, okay? Whatever the line is, just as long as it's indicated on the rod or within the range, you're gonna be good, okay? Same thing. Now, why would you go with a bait caster? The bait caster actually gives you the most accurate casts. Okay, so when you're casting, let's say, short to medium range and you're casting a lot, this is also easier to use because you have less motion when you're casting. A lot of people, when they're right-handed, they have a right-handed reel, okay? And then some people, even if they're right-handed, they reel with the left, okay? Just like what they do with the spinning rod. And even, with that, imagine, this is the normal casting motion, okay? So you're casting out from your right, you're switching. Once it lands, you're switching, and then you reel. Now, with the bait caster, and then with the left-handed bait caster, you cast out, okay? Press the thumb bar, first step, cast out, and then reel. So you're skipping the step where you actually change hands. Now, that's one reason to get into this if you're type of person that actually wants to get on the lefty, but that's kind of like something advanced. But what that spells is actually more casts. So for people that actually wanna pepper like an area, okay, and just cast, the left would be a good idea, even if you're right-handed, okay? So those are the things that you need to actually look for when you're when you're dealing with this rod and reel thing. Firstly, the balance, okay? Secondly, you need to look into the line that you want. It could be that you're going to be fishing predominantly bait. So what you want is, let's say, if you are fishing in an area using bait with smaller fish, it's probably a good idea to start out with something like 8 or 10 pounds just to get the hang of it until you'll find that lighter line would actually get you more fish, more sensitivity as you kind of progress. Okay, so at the end of everything, you'll find that a medium action rod and reel will give you a lot of leeway. You can fish a little bit lighter, you could fish a little bit heavier, and then, for a while there, you're going to be satisfied. So medium action would be what you're looking for as a beginner, okay? And this is probably the best advice I could give you. Go out there, get a medium action rod and reel, whether it would be spin cast or spinning, okay? Those are the two that you need to actually look into. Majority of the time, it would be the spinning rod because it's just so easy to use, slightly harder than a spin cast, but conversely, it's also something that you just don't outgrow. I mean, I still use a spinning rod and reel even if a lot of my gear is like overhead or conventional, okay? But spinning rod, spinning combos, you just do not outgrow. Okay, so recommendation on top of the list, if you're starting out, would be a spinning rod and reel. Don't buy a ready-made combo. Set a really good budget for a reel and the rod because more than likely you're going to be using them for a long time. Alrighty, and that's it. Now, if I missed something, go ahead and drop them in the comment section. Ask and I will answer because this is a part of the basic series and that's very important. Alrighty, so that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't yet, click on that subscribe button if you want to learn more. Share this video to a friend of yours that wants to go fishing, okay, or starting out. Friends, family, share this video. Share this channel if you actually want to learn more with your friends. All right. And if you want to support me and support this channel grow, click on that join button. Alrighty, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Class dismissed.